Hey everybody, this is the fourth episode of the Dresden Files podcast. This is Alex Schechter with two co-hosts today, Alex,
Hi.
the other Alex, and Justin.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about a little bit of news stuff. Then we're going to dive into the Dresden Files TV show. We all gave it our best shot at watching. Some of us had better luck than others. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Before we start, just a reminder, you can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/DresdenCast. You can email us at DresdenFilesPodcast@gmail.com. Find us on our website, DresdenFilesPodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes. I think the first two episodes are available on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube by just searching the Dresden Files Podcast. So let's get started. The first piece of news that we have, James Marsters did a re-recording of Ghost Story, the Ghost Story audiobook, and Audible made it free for purchase. Or not free for purchase. If you had already purchased the Ghost Story audiobook, you could get the James Marsters version for free. Did you guys do that yet, or did you own the audiobook for Ghost Story?
I didn't get my audiobook through Audible, so I'm not, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Justin, and I don't have all the audiobooks yet, but due to peer pressure and being weak-willed, I'll probably get them. So
yeah.
But so Justin, you didn't listen to the book yet. Alex, you did?
I haven't listened to the James Marsters version, no.
No, I meant the other version.
Oh yeah, I've listened to the John Glover version a lot.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
He did very good jobs with the voices for everyone but Dresden.
Yeah, that's true. He was a good, what's the guy's name? Mortimer.
Yeah, he was great for Morty. He was really good with Butters, and he did an interesting take on Bob. And it's like, Murphy's voice didn't even bother me at all.
Yeah.
Molly's got a little weird sometimes, but everything else was just really good.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that it wasn't Dresden.
Yeah, and when Dresden's the one talking the whole time. Sorry, Justin, were you going to say something?
I was going to say the one that pulled me out first, though, was Carmichael, because when you got his yuck, 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 I was like, oh, man, what was that? So.
Yeah. Now, so yeah, that was exciting to see. And the turnaround was really fast, right? They were like, we're making a James Marsters audiobook. And then it was I felt like super quick. They were like, and now it's available.
Well, I don't think it takes very long. I think they only need like 3 days to record a book. So we announced it, we're done, we edit it, off to make money.
Yeah.
Well, and Marsters and others have gone out to say that the audio recording really is kind of brutal in the sense that like they sit them in a room for 8 hours and just record the book, and you can tell even from Summer Night is the one where they didn't even edit out his cursing, so so not a lot of extra post-processing goes into that one.
Yeah.
That was a great Easter egg.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I don't remember that. What?
In Summer Night. Oh, do you want to do it, Justin?
No, go ahead.
Okay, in Summer Night, when Meryl comes out and grabs Dresden to try and talk to him after he comes out talking from Maeve, Marsters keeps reading for a little bit and says, "Oh, it's on the back of his neck. Fuck." And then he goes back and reads the line again.
I'll have to re-listen to that. I wonder if they edited it out for the audiobook or for the Audible book. No?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I've had the audiobooks for a little while. And we've got the version from before they were Audibles, so it's possible that they went and rechanged it. In that case, I will protect this one dearly forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to go and listen. But it was really cool. Audible sent an email. I didn't even realize. Audible sent an email, and they were like, we're giving out this for free. And I was like, okay. And I just got it. It was really great. So, yeah, that's that story. And then, so unfortunately, yeah, we haven't had to have a show. I was really, really busy last month in April, so we missed last month. But there was a spot of news in between now and March. So we have a post on Reddit, /r/Dresden Files about, I think, did I close the post? Yeah, dead air. Okay. It was a post about, I'm not sure where this question and answer session was, but we got a lot of good stuff out of it. Justin or Alex, do one of you want to go over the list of stuff really fast? Justin, maybe?
Yeah, which post are we looking at? Do you want me to go to the Tumblr post or the actual...
Yeah, the Reddit one.
Yeah, the Reddit one's edited.
The one with the highlights?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Cinder Spires...
No, not that one.
Not that
I'll just
one?
read it because I have it up.
Go
There's, I think, 10 different points. Harry is not related to Merlin. So that's big, right? Harry is not related to Merlin. He's not, but that's not saying that Harry isn't Merlin, right?
People are arguing about that in that thread, and I think it's worth arguing about.
Yeah, because everybody thought, oh, he's actually descended from Merlin, but that's interesting. Bob will stay with Butters. That's pretty duh. The Brain Baby's first line is "Pancakes are inanimate." That's going to be. I think that's going to be an interesting character, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm really excited to figure out whatever her name is going to be.
Yeah.
What you're going to run into is that you're probably going to see, an almost autistic type of learning pattern because they know all the facts, but they don't know all the morals and the ethics and things. And so I'm sure it sounds like they're going to go that way. Like, I don't know, this is maybe just my theory, but when they're talking about pancakes are inanimate, that sounds like somebody was having a conversation about, living versus objects, people versus things type of thing. So that'll be fun.
She's so different, in fact, that Bob has a personality, at least when he's with Harry and Butters, and this Brain Baby doesn't yet.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what happens. Number 4, theoretically, you could magically, surgically remove a White Court vampire's demon, but it would send them crazy from psychic trauma. Now that's interesting because we've already seen that. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name.
Thomas?
Yeah, that Thomas, the stupid show wiped everything out of my mind about the books. We've already seen that Thomas can withstand some pretty serious psychic trauma, so maybe it's possible that they could get rid of his demon. What do you guys think?
I really don't know that they would do that, not on purpose, if that makes sense. Like, I could see somebody doing it to him, but yeah.
Maybe we'll see Lash again and something with the fairies. The Fae, excuse me. The Sword of Faith is probably yellow and looks totally like a lightsaber because Butters is a giant nerd. Awesome. That's all I have to say about that. I love all that stuff. I'm going crazy for this Jedi stuff. It's my favorite thing ever. It also sounds like a holy choir. Yes.
Right. And to me, that means that it's going to go the direction that everybody was hoping and less afraid of, in the sense that it's just going to get busted out for the, for the threats or for the actual throwdown. He's not going to just have it out in public all the time. Like you see Michael run around the airport with it or something.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the thing.
I mean, if you think about it, that was a Jedi's kind of opus moderandi in the movies too. What's Obi-Wan Kenobi says, you don't actually have to use it, just its presence can often resolve conflicts. So, obviously I'm paraphrasing. Also, I love how people were saying that the Holy Choir sound is going to be Duel of the Fates from the movies. That would be really funny. We will find out more about LeFay, but not Malcolm. That I was saying before the show started, it was disappointing to me. What did you guys think?
I really don't buy it, in a sense that, like, it's too big of a mystery to just leave it out there how he died, but I don't remember if they said that it was legitimately just a mortal thing, but I guess that either solidifies that's how that happened, or, for sure, there has to be more of an explanation. So, I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell.
I think it was Nicodemus that implied that Malcolm died from something more nefarious than just an aneurysm. Which maybe Nick knows, but I think maybe we'll learn more about Malcolm's death, but not about his life.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'll buy for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd be still not happy, but I'd be fine with that, I guess. Okay, we won't find out more about the British prisoner till book 18.
Fuck.
Well, yes, but think about it this way, right? We're going on book 16, so, and we know that the next two books are going to be pretty awesome.
So it's only 5 more years.
Damn it!
Exactly.
I'm sorry to be that guy.
Damn
but...
it! So...
Yeah, that's why we said fuck.
I mean,
So
we could get lucky. It could be 3 years.
true.
No. Cinder Spires.
You could get that army of Brandon Sanderson clones to start pumping out his
Oh,
books.
that's true. Sanderson needs to fork over.
Right.
No, I have a feeling that eventually Butcher is going to really, dig into it as he gets closer to the end of the series. I don't know. Do you think he'll milk it?
I don't think he's milking it. I think he's been completely honest with the fans in the sense that writing these books is hard and a lot goes into it, and I think he does need his breaks in between. But like I was telling you offline earlier, it's kind of like, think of Breaking Bad where you only saw the blue meth like twice in the entire series. It's like, hey, look, I got something for you, but it's going to be 1.5 years till your next hit, and it's like, that's why he's so good at it, but they take so long that you wind up with fans that are rabid and can't wait for, the next book. Not that other major authors don't have a similar kind of thing. I mean, look at R.R. Martin's fans, but, I think that's the sweet spot that we're in, is that he is so good at it, but they take so much energy that we just have to wait, and it sucks, but it is what it is, it's life.
Alex, did you have anything else on that?
He puts out good books. As long as he puts out one a year, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, sometimes he doesn't.
And in those years, I cry, but...
I mean,
He
no,
doesn't put
Spires is
out a
coming
Dresden Files book every year, but
yeah.
Well, I'm happy for Cinder Spires. It's got talking cats. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to read that and just to hold me over until,
Wait, I thought Cinder Spires was over, no?
No,
Wait,
it's
I'm
just
thinking
starting.
of Codex Alara, dude.
Yeah.
I should try
But-
Cinder Spires.
He said something I watched, is that he basically thinks all the talking cats in Cinder Spires as the offspring of Mister.
What? Crossover.
Yeah. So,
Cool. Okay, so... so this next one on the list it really hits home for me. When I heard this, it really... I had to, take a minute and be like, oh my god. Maggie has crippling social anxiety. Without Mouse, she can't function. So, what do you guys think about that? Any thoughts?
it's
what I
heavy, but it
expected.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
expected.
Your mom was a half vampire, your dad was a wizard. You hardly knew either of them for the first, 5-6 years of your life until you were kidnapped by the monsters under the bed and almost murdered to destroy, wizarding kind. Yeah, well, what's your problem? That's a Tuesday for me, so,
No, I mean, but we've seen, because social anxiety and other anxieties can be different symptoms of psychic attacks. We've seen that, but I don't think we've really seen it, or we've very rarely seen it to the point where can't function is part of this, the equation. Where have we seen that? What was the guy in the third book, the police officer guy? You know what I'm talking about? Who was
Mickey Malone?
Yeah, Mickey Malone. That's
Okay.
I think what we're talking about, to that level where she literally would freeze and not be able to, not be able to get out of bed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe, but you've seen her, it's fine to speculate and kind of imagine how that might go, but we've seen her in the Carpenter's house, so I mean,
Well, there she's comfortable and
Right.
she that's her home base, and she had Mouse with her, so.
Right. So you
know.
think that Jim would do something so dastardly as to separate her from all of those comforts?
Of
You really think
course.
that would happen?
Yeah, look at what we've seen happen. Are you kidding me? He killed her mother,
True.
and he had her father kill her mother.
And then her father kill her father.
Her father.
That's also true.
Oh.
Yeah.
True.
Took
Very-
a second, but yes.
So,
Yep.
But yeah.
It'll be good. It'll be good times.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and then number 10. Unless everything's on fire, then she's cool because she's Harry's daughter naturally. That's funny.
Right. So maybe that's what happens is you're worried about, oh, poor defenseless little Maggie, but when they take Mouse, she lights the town on fire trying to get him back. So maybe you shouldn't do that.
Okay, that's fair. That would be awesome. I'd be fine with that. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
In one of the other threads about like that announcement of like she needs Mouse to function, but then she's gonna have the spin-off of going to middle school with all the magical kids and stuff. The top comment I saw was, "The school is on fire and it wasn't my fault."
Right.
Yeah, I think. Go for it, Justin.
I was going to say like father, like daughter, so.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a great spin-off series. Or even if it's not a spin-off series. I know he's going to do a short story about Maggie finding a monster under the bed. So that's going to be good. All right, that's the news. Did we have anything else to talk about as far as news? No?
I don't think so.
All right, let's jump into the show. Let's do this, guys. Dresden Files TV show. Alex, can you give a little... I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but can you give a little background on it?
So, in 2005... Sci-Fi Channel announced that they had the Dresden Files starting, but they said they were going to start a 2-hour film of Stormfront as the pilot. And then Nicolas Cage gets involved and it all gets kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And the 2-hour pilot never actually got put out for people because Chris was trying to find it and he couldn't. And it was supposed to go out with all of the DVD release of the entire series and it never came out.
And it basically turned into a 12-episode, in episodic format. So there's episodic where each episode, is its own story, and then there's serial where like an entire season is a story. And Jim Butcher in an interview, in a Q&A, was saying that originally it was supposed to be a serial series where the first season would cover the events of Stormfront and Full Moon, but then they made the decision after hiring some stupid producer to make it episodic, and I guess they couldn't do that kind of story in an episodic format, so it kind of just became about random stuff, right?
Well, in one of his Q&As, he was explaining some of the things that went wrong. Is that there were like original producers and people behind it that had a really good setup. And then they got fired and switched out with other people who just came off charm. And that person who was writing the script did it really badly and set it off at really the wrong time, so they didn't even know what they were shooting at any one day, and just kind of jumbled it all up and completely undercut the story of it.
Yep. So, but we're not here to talk about facts. We're here to talk about our opinions, right, guys?
Facts shape your opinions. So
That's true. Yeah. Fair enough.
It is a fact that Nicolas Cage ripped Dresden Files to create Soldier's Apprentice.
Well, that's an opinion, I think, but it's a pretty strongly supported opinion. Yeah. So, yeah.
God damn it, Nicolas Cage. Okay, so let's start off because we're gonna try and talk about things we don't like first. And so people in watching this show, people always give the advice, just like with the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings movies and any kind of thing that's based on a book that's not actually the book. Watch it as its own medium, watch it as a TV show instead of watching it as a TV show based on the books.
Right.
But that was impossible. You couldn't do that, right? Could either of you guys honestly do that?
Yes.
Come on, Alex. I mean, yeah. No. You saw the show before you read the book, so fair enough. But after you read the book, you couldn't go back and just watch the show, right?
Yeah, I could. I can go back and I can enjoy Bob as Terrence Mann pretty easily. I can enjoy Morgan being the black guy pretty easily. Murphy is completely different, and she's not the same person. And it's easy for me.
What about you, Justin?
They have a word for that. It's called cognitive dissonance. So peace and all that fun stuff. But anyway, I tried. I tried to drink the Kool-Aid, and like I mentioned to you offline earlier, I think around not season. Anyway, that would be way too many. But episode 5, around episode 5, it finally kicked in that it was like, okay, let's let this thing be its own thing, and let's see what they're trying to do. And it clicked that they were trying to make a police procedural where it just happened to have, Karen and Dresden, and it just happened to have magic in it. And that was the way that they seemed to be trying to make the show. And then it was just bad in its own right. And that's where I was just like, nope, we're done. And then they tried to do Stormfront in an hour and messed that up. And so, I mean, it's all well and good to say that it's like, okay, so here's your child, but we're going to do a clone, but it's really a robot clone, and it only has so many memories, and so you're just going to pretend, well, the clone's its own thing, and then it does something almost right and not quite the same, and you're like, whoa, that's not even, like, why do we even have this, like, to a point, like, why didn't we name it something else? Why didn't we make it its own thing if that's what we wanted to do? And that's the part I never understood, like, whether it's, fans of Battlestar Galactica are going to hate me for this sort of thing, but if it's Battlestar Galactica, if it's Divergent, or whatever the new stuff is, if it's Lord of the Rings, if it's the Dresden Files, if you want to make your own interpretation, like, make it your own thing if you're not going to do anything but rip the names out of it. That's the part that I don't understand, that Hollywood's like, oh, we've got to do, this is based on whatever, and it's like, no, what you're doing is you're trying to capitalize on that brand, but you wanted to sell your own story, and that's... Dresden Files, I really think, like, they lifted a lot from it, but, like, there are some changes that are just arbitrary and stupid that make no sense, like...
So let's talk about the changes. Let's start naming some of them. Alex, can you name some of the changes?
One, Justin, you said that it was just going to be Harry and Karen running around, but actually her name wasn't Karen, it was Costanza Murphy.
Oh, wow.
She's not the same Murphy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's not short and blonde-haired.
Yeah, she's also a divorced single mother.
Right. Yeah, and it was funny, too, because I think it was like episode 3, just sorry to break in with this real quick, but I think it was episode 3 where I was like, what if this was an alternate universe? And this is one of the Harrys that gets offed in Mirror Mirror. Like
that would be hilarious.
Okay.
Oh my god! If he puts that in the books, that would be so funny.
Right, but I think that he liked it enough. I don't know. Like, you guys must have read some later stuff, because everything I found was like Butcher defending it, and so it would make everything better if that was the case, So. But yeah, Costanza, I didn't catch that was her name. That's crazy. So.
Also, Murphy's father is still alive in the show.
Right.
And living with the hooker in Florida.
Ugh.
Right. And then Morningway, let's not forget that. So, like.
Yeah. So Justin DeMorn.
To be weirder.
Justin DeMorn becomes Justin Morningway, who is actually the uncle of Harry.
Yeah.
What else?
Morgan being black is not a change that I'm upset about, but the thing that gets weird there is that you run into the people that are fans of the show and then the books, and then they're like, but Morgan's black, and I'm like, I'm sorry, kids, he's not. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a race thing, but
no, it's not a race thing. Down. It's a character thing. They're totally separate characters.
Right, exactly. I mean, for crying out loud, Morgan in the show actually worked with Dresden. When did that ever happen?
Yeah. No, and he's like this, like, scumbaggy, like, breaking the rules, supporting vampire, I don't know. It was so hard to follow any of the story that... Anyway, so he's very different, obviously, from the show and the books.
Right.
I mean, did you guys prefer Morgan in the show versus Morgan in the book?
No. Yeah. No.
Wait, Alex, what?
Well, I got used to Morgan in the show, so when I actually read Stormfront, he was not all that different to me whatsoever. Like, they did enough of capturing his character that when I read Stormfront, it was the same. I just like, oh, wait, he's not black, right, whatever. And then, like, as it went on, Morgan became a disparate character, especially since he disappeared for a couple of books.
Right,
Yeah.
and I see what you're saying because they do capture the like strong silent type and the like thinking on your feet with the magic, and he is a warrior in the show, but like Alex said, it's just he does kind of give that I'm the strong arm thug kind of drug dealer slash bad cop vibe in the show to me, especially because you have Ancient Mai being like in charge and she's kind of that way, and so
Ancient
she's
Mind
just
was
like
terrible.
go do
So that's enough.
yeah
All right, keep going, Justin.
yeah. So
Finish your thought.
she's like go do my dirty work and I just hate Harry and I hate everybody is kind of the vibe that I got from her in the show, and
Oh,
so
right.
Morgan's like I'm a thug, which he was presented sort of that way by Dresden, but Morgan's not really a thug at the end of the day in the Dresden Files, like not in my opinion. So
So that's another difference, though. In the show, Ancient Mai is apparently putting some kind of illusion on herself to make herself appear younger, probably because they didn't want to hire an older actress, and they probably wanted to try and make her put another nice-looking woman in the show, I guess.
Well, you didn't get to the actual end of the
That's
series,
true.
right?
No.
Okay, so
Oh,
like,
by the way, spoilers for the entire Dresden Files and the Dresden Files show. We forgot to mention that.
yeah, spoilers abound.
Okay, go for it.
I want to say it might have been the last episode, or maybe the second to last. Is something they're stuck in Harry's apartment. It's Harry, Murphy, wardens, and Mai, and a couple of other wardens, and Morgan was there too. And so this weird black thing is coming in and eating people. It's just kind of like creeping in on the apartment. And then turns out Ancient Mai is a dragon,
Oh my god.
yeah, yeah,
and that was
she's
her self-defense.
I'm glad I didn't get to the end of the book, and I mean to the end of the show. And B, I wish you hadn't told me that because now it's even worse.
yeah,
What
because
the-
you see her scales and everything,
Oh
and
my
like a bunch of stuff
God.
comes out. Yeah,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And then it wasn't actually Murphy that was in the apartment. It was a dragon shaped as Murphy.
I didn't catch. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to see that they were dragons. Like I remember the lizard part. Like I remember her being a lizard person underneath the flesh suit. But wow, that's pretty bad.
Good.
Oh no, yeah, no, I do remember them being dragons because I remember like turning to my wife and being like, "Dude, there are only two dragons in the whole universe right now, and they're both in Harry's apartment apparently, and all of them are named Faravax. So what the crap?" So anyway,
That's terrible.
yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I really enjoyed it, and just like going back now, it's like, wow, this is a lot worse than I remembered. And Ancient Mai was one of the worst parts of it. The fact that they broke her and made her annoying, dragon.
Well, and they're not even necessarily internally consistent because how far do you have to go before they're like, so we're called the High Council, another change instead of White Council. So we're the High Council of Wizards, run by a dictator queen. So what part of it's the council? Like, who's the council? Where's the rest of this? Because she apparently just runs Chicago like it's like she's a blend between one of the senior council and like Marcone to a sense, where like she's just a thug that just runs around and smushes people that get in the way, because they chase other people into Harry's shop / home all the time. They had the vampire people that they like were running around and whatever else. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of vampires, the only good thing about Bianca was her lipstick.
Right. And I agree because I think that's the one that pulled me back out of it and just like ruined it again. Because we've got Third Eye, but it's only for the undead, apparently. And we'll mention the courts, but not really why there's differences or anything like that. And then the whole like, I'm pathetic, please kill me, because Dresden has ever said anything remotely like that. Like he
During sex, even. What the hell?
right, and sex with a vampire. I mean, come on, like you couldn't be farther from wanting to die at that point. But
yeah, but it's just, I've seen that actress in other things. She's not a bad actress, but the way that I guess she was directed, or like the script that was given to her, she was just terrible in that.
I blame the script. I don't think I had anything against her at all. Just the scene with them in bed and like just kill me. That was just too much.
You know, just like there's something watching it again in the way that she moved her head too much. It's just kind of like, stay still, damn it.
Ugh. Yeah. I mean, my biggest problem with the show, before we talk about other problems with the show, um, my biggest problem was that the episodic thing. Just that there's so much stuff happening in each episode, and none of it really carries over from one episode to the other, that it just gets all really confusing, and it's just not done very well. The acting is good. That's really all that's good about the show, which we can talk about later. I don't know. What did you guys do? You guys think that it would have been better as a serial type of show?
Go ahead, Alex. You go first, because I know my answer.
I think for the kind of budget they were given, it was definitely going to have episodic elements to it, but they could have also had an overarching element to it. Kind of like the way that the Dresden Files books does, of here's a book and here's its problems, and you can talk about that for a while, but there's also that thing behind it that's moving everything, that connects them all. I expected something like that, and the way that Charmed kind of built up towards things like that. And that's who they had to work on it, so what I expected.
Right. So towards what you guys were discussing earlier, you guys read this, so that's why I'm kind of calling you out on it. But you said that they were pretty much writing the episodes like the night of, like right before shooting, and they weren't getting there until like 4 in the morning. So, like, how could you do anything but an episodic format at that point? Like, I don't credit myself as any kind of writer. Like, I like the idea of writing, it attracts me, that sort of thing, but how could you possibly stretch yourself creatively like that, where like every night you've got to pump out an episode and then somehow string them together? Like, you're just not even doing yourself a service on that.
Yeah. Whoever was in charge of the script just ruined the show. And the fact that it's okay to do that in LA and submit something by midnight, but they're shooting in Toronto the next day and they don't even know who they need on set. It just kind of made everyone not like working on it too.
Was there any other differences between the books? What about Bob? Someone talked about Bob.
I like Bob.
About Bob. Yeah.
That was the name of one of the episodes. That was the name of I think that was the last episode. Was What About Bob? And
Nice.
That was the title of the episode.
Bob was fine mostly. It took some getting used to the fact that he was just wandering around the house, and then if they first started out like he's some dark secret, kind of like he's treated in the books, but then eventually he starts like interacting with people that are in the place, the apartment / office. But the problem I had with him was like the later episodes where they kind of like reveal his history and how just super terrible and like plain that was. It was just two-dimensional with the whole like, I'm a dark wizard and I loved people too much and then they died and then I became sort of like a trapped, tortured spirit. I'm like, okay.
Also, his name is Rothford of Bainbridge.
Right. Which is hard to say, so we call him Bob.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was sort of interesting with the whole, like, he came back to flesh for a moment and you weren't really sure if he was going to make it, but it's Dresden, so you weren't really worried. And the show's named after him, kids. I don't think he's going to die in the first season, so But yeah, that was kind of interesting.
So let's do it like this. What did you guys think was the best episode, Alex?
The one with the hockey stick.
Which one? Maybe I missed that one. Which number was that?
I thought there were a couple, yeah.
Well, I don't remember which number, but it had Claudia Black in it. It was called The Other Dick.
I don't remember even the plot, so...
Synopsis of that episode is Harry needs to go get his private detective license renewed, takes a small class, and Claudia Black is there, and then the teacher for the class gets killed. It's like, oh, it was not right, and then they go finding around, oh, there's an incubus, and it uses his hockey stick.
Right. Yeah, and they sort of bring in the white court, kind of, like for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I missed it?
Yeah. It's
You're just gonna have to go watch the last 4 episodes. Apparently, all the good ones were there. So.
Yeah, I guess so. Justin, what about you?
I gotta say, I think at the end of the day, like, I don't know 100% sure that it was the best, but certainly the most memorable for me was their Stormfront, and it was almost not terrible. And then, like, the twist at the end was kind of like, oh, okay. So you guys had to ruin it somehow. But, like, it's an hour, so I get it. Not everything's perfect. They can't build all the drama and the suspense and all the things, but you actually can recognize some of the scenes from the book, and you're like, oh, holy crap, this actually kind of happened. And I get that we don't have a budget for a toad demon. Okay, cool, no problem. But, I mean, even that one, like, so they go through the entire season, they're like, this is Murphy, and she's sort of a blend between Murphy and Susan, right? And then they actually introduce Susan, and she's like a 4-foot-tall blonde girl. And I'm like, now you guys aren't even trying, you know. But
no, this is supposed to be your favorite episode, Justin.
It is. It is. That's what I'm telling you. Like, yeah, there are decent parts in some of the other stories, but none of them, like, to me, it doesn't have a lot of rewatch value. This is never going to be a show where I'm like, oh man, it's been 5 years or 1 year or 3 months or 5 seconds. I need to go start watching this again. Like, you know, that I think they actually tried. And from what Chris was saying, unfortunately he couldn't be here, so he can't defend himself. So I'm just going to say it for him. But what he was telling us was that they actually did a 2-hour like Stormfront, and then they pared it down. And you can sort of see that this episode just was better than the rest. But it had problems endemic to the show at the end of the day. Like, there were still things that they changed that were like, why? And then why did we make a big deal about Karen being this one person, and we're not going to put Susan in until 8 episodes later, and we're totally going to put Susan in. And that was kind of funny. So.
Also, Susan was completely useless. She was just showed up and then screamed and then go away.
Well, did she do a lot in Stormfront, to be fair? Like, did I miss something? Because she drank the potion, and she kind of, got taken out of it then, so.
She was kind of like an anchor for Harry and why he was keep going things, like the way that Tutu kept making fun of him. It's the only way you can get a woman if she wants something from you. And she had purpose. More so than just show up and scream.
Right. Yeah, because even up through Grave Peril, I thought she was kind of the, like, sure, I'm the love interest, but I'm kind of like, I mean, she's capable, but she's still mortal, and she's still, like, there's only so much she can do. And then certainly you see with her superpowers in book 5 that she's like, yeah, let's throw down and do things and stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think my favorite episode was the second one. And granted, yeah, I didn't see the last 4. The Boone Identity, the one where the Harry's trying to solve the case about the guy who steals this Egyptian tablet.
Oh, and,
yeah. Now that was because there was a story there, and it wasn't all convoluted with 1,000 things going on. Like, it was really clear cut. And I thought that was the best episode. What did you guys think about that?
I thought it was okay. It was kind of enjoyable. They handled that one better. It was the only one that Murphy acted like Murphy that wasn't in the Stormfront one. And he's like, do you have shotguns? Several! That was my favorite part of the entire episode. It's just the justification that everyone was using is like, Egyptian tablet! That rich guy has Egyptian things! Ugh. Rich guys have Egyptian things all over the place.
Right. Yeah, and I thought they did it decently well, and then they also, it was sort of their Grave Peril in a sense, because this was brought up later in the series too, that Karen still has trauma from the events there and whatnot. So that was kind of interesting that they actually did try and do a callback to something that happened earlier in the show. And it was a decent episode, but yeah, it wasn't.
Okay.
I don't know. It wasn't show saving. So it was a good answer to episode 1. How about that? It was a nice rebound off of that. So. Which
was real bad. How about the episode we hated the most, Alex?
I have to think about that. Justin, you answer.
Okay. I hated episode 1 the most. I hated episode 1 so bad that when it was on Netflix and it was essentially free for me, I couldn't finish watching the show and we were done. And part of that, I did some more research and I found out that the main reason why I hated it is unfounded because having read all the books, episode 1's villain is called Skinwalker. And so I was like, this is crap. They're doing Turncoat like the first episode, and it's not even close. And all of that is true because Turncoat didn't come out for 2 more years. So the show did its own thing. They did it bad, but it wasn't as bad as I had given it credit for. But at the end of the day, they basically had Harry can't touch this thing with whatever. And I mean, even the Imager link that you showed earlier from the Dresden Files subreddit was somebody doing a synopsis, basically frame by frame, and it's like, what's all this magical text? Oh, what? That's just the MacGuffin, So really, that's the whole episode. Like this unstoppable creature, we're going to throw a magical hand grenade at it, and then it's done. And I'm like, that was so anticlimactic and so terrible. Episode 1 was my least favorite.
I can agree with you that it was terrible for many reasons. Also, sorry, Alex, go ahead.
It was like I got messages from you when you were watching it. It's like, no, this is terrible. The Skinwalker is not even doing the skin peeling thing. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, because she's like punching him in the face for half the episode. It's like, what are you? What? And then, like 5 minutes later, she's like, "Oh yeah, I can twist his face from the inside out." Why did you just do that? Why bother with the punching? Like, the Skinwalker in the books would never punch someone. Right? It's just like an insultingly silly act at such a level of power.
And honestly, go ahead, Alex.
No, you go.
Okay. I was going to say, like, some of the other stuff that I found is, like, some of the Dresden Files wikis, like, actually treat them as separate. Just, it's very clear that the show, it's not a Nagloshi. That's important. They call it a Skinwalker, but it's not a Nagloshi. There's something else going on there. And I even found one of the Dresden Files fan wikis that basically said Skinwalkers share a name with Nagloshi, but they're even more watered down. But they still are like super hard to take down, that sort of thing. It's like Goodman Gray maybe would be that level of Skinwalker, right? He's still quite the badass, and I'm sorry to sully his name because I know how much you guys love him to compare him to that Skinwalker, but yeah, like he was different, or sorry, she was different. That Skinwalker, not the same thing. So.
That is a very big insult to Goodman Gray, because one of the worst things that the first episode did, being the first episode, and it's like, oh, that's the MacGuffin, and then that's the simple thing that takes down a Skinwalker that's supposed to be oh so terrifying on the first episode. Like, no, they're not scary anymore. You failed. Go away.
Right.
And I'd have to agree with you that the first episode was probably the least favorite. Also, the one with the callow hand that had kids like moving through walls.
Oh God, so bad.
I don't know. I kind of liked a little bit of that. I'm not gonna say it was one of my favorites, but they actually sort of tried to put some drama in there, and then it turned into like you stupid kids playing with dark magic,
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I think they handled the story of it better. Like, it was one episode that they handled it as a separate entity, and it was different than the other ones, so they could handle it better. Okay, but it's just kind of the tallow hand and the weird cheesiness of it.
It's true. I mean, let's take a step back though. From a distance, it's definitely a Goosebumps story. Like that's part of it. It's like we found the thing, and then the kids are running around doing mischief, and then bad things happen to them. So it's to that level of cheese.
So bad.
But to say something about the first episode, it was meant to be episode 3, but because they chopped down Stormfront, it became episode 1. And that would have been better because it would have just been the basic filler that it is, rather than the introduction to the entire world.
That's fair. Not that it would have been any better, but it would have been a better spot for it.
Also, that waitress was one of the most annoying things ever.
It made no sense. First he's going out with the waitress, then he's going out with Susan, and then, I don't know, there's all these different
It's
women.
just like within the first episode, okay, he wakes up in bed with a waitress, and that imagery thing is like, haha, yeah, he never gets laid. And then he goes to the diner with the kid, and then he goes to the diner with another high council woman trying to see if the kid's okay. And the waitress is pissed off that he's sharing lunch with another woman. Just like, why does it... Ah!
Doesn't make any sense. No, I think the worst episode was Stormfront. That was at the point where I was just like, okay, I'm done. This is ridiculous. So terrible. I was like, okay, maybe they'll do a little bit like the book. Nope. Because it wasn't at all like the book. It was terrible in every imaginable way. It's just more of that, like, here's this thing, and now here's this thing, and now here's this thing, and when that, like with Game of Thrones, where there's a ton of stuff happening, when it all, like, flows together and makes sense and is done well, then it's fine. But it didn't make any sense. I don't know, what did you guys think?
Yeah, like I said, it was probably one of the better ones in my opinion, but that didn't necessarily save the show. Because that was once again like, oh, we're not doing the books. Oh, hey, look, we tried to do the book and we were bad at it. And it was not the greatest thing. So
They definitely took all of the names and then put them to people in sort of similar, so much washed out thing. Like, they had all of the right people. There was a girl who was driving a car. They didn't mention that she was also a prostitute. Bianca was involved because that's the way the girls were involved. But then it did diverge a lot.
yeah, and they even included Sir Toad Demon, so his reoccurring role.
Not a toad demon, just a big guy.
Right. Named Toad Demon. So.
No, and I can understand that kind of stuff, like Bob being a thing outside of the skull, and the Toad Demon not actually being a toad, because A, it would be really difficult because they obviously had a super low budget, and B, it makes it easier for people watching the show who've never read the books to understand what's going on. That doesn't bother me that much. It's just bad. They just tell stories in a bad way that makes it hard to watch. You know what I'm saying? And Stormfront, it was just like... Also, I think you guys remember me saying, I was like, oh god, there's actually 12 episodes, not 8. I thought
Right.
it was 8. So I was like, if I can just make it to the end of Stormfront, that's got to be the last episode. And once I realized there was 12, I was just like, oh. So...
I couldn't even get it to 13 for a good number.
I know, that's true. They should have done 13. So let's...
good thing, right?
Yeah, let's talk about some good things. Alex, why don't you lead us off?
I think Bob, Harry, and Morgan were very well done. Just in like the acting and like how they handled their personalities, and especially now that I've been listening to audiobooks so much, the voice for Paul Blackthorne really fit Harry in my head.
Oh, yeah. I'll agree. It was a good Harry. Except for the fucking hockey stick and the drumstick. What the... It's like, they were like, hey guys, we could save on budget by making him more urban and having him use stupid-ass shit as magical items. Sorry, continue.
You're going to piss off a lot of the fan base with that one, because that was some of the things that people loved. But yeah.
Well,
because honestly, you can sort of see that in Harry's thing, but like it belies the underlying nature of a magical artifact. Like none of Harry's stuff is manufactured in a store like in the books, right? He hand makes his shit, and so
it was just stupid. It was stupid. I'm sorry if you like that part of the show. It was stupid. Continue, Alex.
Oh, I just remembered something that one of the episodes that was great was the guy who kept dying again and again and again.
Yes.
That one was just funny to remember about. So he walks into the shop, because I don't know if you've seen it, Alex.
No, I don't think so.
I've been having visions of dying when I'm running, when I get out of the shower, and Harry's just going, okay, well, just drink some tea, you'll be fine, and then he falls dead at the table. And so he calls Murphy, and people start tearing out the body, and there's this reoccurring joke of needing to get out of the way for the body, because then the next day the guy comes and is like, I'm just having visions of dying all the time. He's like, you died here yesterday. Falls flat dead again. and they have to carry him out. Then his wife comes. It's like, oh my god, what happened? And then she falls dead. What the hell is going on? And
terrible show. Good stuff. Alex, did you have any more good stuff?
Maybe not. Well, Claudia Black was in it, and she was funny.
Yeah.
And the hockey stick I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm. Dustin, did you have any good stuff?
I totally did, but to be honest, after talking about the show, I can't remember anymore. Like, it's just, I feel bad because I was like, there's my silver lining. That's the one good thing, and yeah, I can't remember anymore. Like,
was it about Bob?
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, around up until somewhere between episodes like 2 and 5, I had the epiphany that maybe it was, maybe they were trying to do a police procedural, right? And so you could try and enjoy it for that if the rest of the episodes just weren't bad anyway. Mm-hmm. And I think my happiest thought watching it the entire time was, oh my God, what if this is an alternate universe and we see him in Mirror Mirror? And so, like, right now that's my personal headcanon that we're going to find out. Because the way I see Mirror Mirror, people can say it's spoilers, whatever, but if you've seen the one with Jet Li.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's the plot. Like, that's the whole thing, except that, he's got the goatee and the cheese and stuff like that. And so I just see it's like you're going to see, like, a scene where he flips through a roster of, like, 113 killed Harrys, and one of them's going to be Paul Blackthorne, like, I think that's the best thought I can come up with right now. Because, we've got Justin Morningway and we've got Costanza Murphy, because that's a girl's name, and we've got, White Susan and, Bad Harry with hockey sticks, and of course he's going to get murdered. He was probably the first one to get murdered. He used magic like 3 times in a show, and once it was a grenade, so, but, so... Later on in the show, they do a little bit better with, I think it was the private detective one where he, like, actually does defensive magic and stops the dynamite and some
yeah,
other
that was
things
it.
like that.
That was the hockey stick.
Yeah, you actually see them use their budget for, showing the magic happen, but, yeah. I'm going to go with that the best part of the show is the fact that we might see it come back in Mirror Mirror, so...
Well, honestly, the best part of the show is it got people like me to read the books.
And I think that's what it was, actually. Is that we wouldn't have... I mean, even my friend who eventually did get me on the books, started by watching the show and got into it. And I guess that's our silver lining, is that probably, a significant portion of people listening to the show actually started with watching the show, so it's always going to have that warm, soft spot in their heart, kind of like your first girlfriend where you knew better and then she broke your heart and then you got the second one was way better. I think that's what we're going to go with. So
that analogy is great.
Those are some good points, Justin. I mean, you guys basically covered the 2 things that I thought were good about the show. The acting was good for the most part. The Dresden character was good. Morgan would have been good if he was more like the book Morgan, but it was interesting that he was African American or black. I did like the Bob concept, taking him out of the skull. Oh, that's something we never talked about. The Bob, he had a conception of morality. But we're only talking about good things right now. It was good that it did introduce people to the books, and I think it's different in a lot of ways from other movie or TV. Most of the time you'll see a movie that's actually a book, right? Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, but then there's also Game of Thrones, which is a TV show. But the thing about all those other things, for the most part, is they are kind of in the same. So, like, Harry Potter had 8 movies. There's 7 books, right? Game of Thrones, for the most part, each season was covering a different part of a book. So with the Dresden Files, you watch that one season run. It doesn't really have anything to do with the books. So when you read the books, you'll at least be able to separate it from the show a lot easier than you would other properties. Does that make sense? Right?
To a point.
Because there's so much more story in the books, so eventually you'll kind of overshadow the TV series with the book series' plot, right? You guys get kind of what I'm saying?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess basically my point is it's short enough to not matter. Right.
At least hopefully we'll get something better in the future. And,
yeah. So
it'll get overshadowed. So.
Well, I mean, Butcher himself has hinted at the idea that there might be an animated series coming. He definitely said, right, that there was going to, in his Ask Me Anything, that there was going to be something else. He still has the rights for that, I think, but he definitely said that there was going to be something else. So
when he was touring for Skin Game, he was saying that you were in conversations with people. It's like, okay, this is what we want to do. And he said, all right, I just want to be involved.
Right.
You're okay with this? Yes, but I want to be involved.
Right.
And that was the last thing I ever heard. I did not hear that it would be animated. I don't hear any more discussions with it, because Butcher himself would keep saying, once the check clears is when you can talk about it. But before that, even when they hand you the check, it still hasn't cleared, so you don't know.
Maybe I'm just projecting my wishes and the wishes of the community onto reality, I guess. Because a lot of people have been saying that an animated series would be the best way to
handle the budget, definitely.
Yeah, and to tell that story. Because you wouldn't have to worry about an effects budget.
Well, then part of that might be in the fact that Butcher himself has said that he always envisioned Dresden Files as a comic, but personally I prefer it as the gritty realism that it is, that I get out of the books. It's all well and good. Like, comics got nothing against that, but I feel like the cartoon bits take away some of the gravitas of some of the scenes where it's like, there are some gruesome things and bad things and dark things that happen, and I like the comics, I enjoy them, but I don't get the same, emotional feel from that, if that makes sense.
I think it just depends on how it's done. I mean, if you've ever seen, there's two Star Wars Clone Wars shows. The first one, done by Jendi Tarkovsky, who did a lot of different shows on Cartoon Network.
Like Samurai Jack.
Yeah, Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls. He did a great job of just making it really dramatic and action-packed, but it's still a cartoon, so it can definitely be done, is basically what I'm saying. All right, we have to bring the show to a close because we're at an hour now. The next episode, we're definitely going to have it next month, hopefully. I'll try and keep the community more updated since we've kind of gone silent. There'll be another Reddit post talking about this episode and last episode, because I'm going to put the audio up for last episode. So again, you can always find us at DresdenFilesPodcast.com. That's probably the best place to look. You can search on YouTube for the Dresden Files Podcast. Tweet at us, twitter.com/DresdenCast. Email us at DresdenFilesPodcast@gmail.com. And we'll hope you'll join us again soon. Thanks.